Welcome to Healing Highs with Lara, where we talk about the highlights and serendipitous moments of our healing journeys. I'm your host, Lara, an international energy healer for animals and humans. Thank you for being here. I love sharing these stories with you. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Today I have EFT practitioner Kate. Thank you so much for being here, Kate. We're in different states, but thankful to technology, we get to connect today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited because we did connect last year. We did that summit, um, healing summit together, and you and I did a live on Instagram talking about the modality I was using and the modality that you were using and how they complement each other. So we have some shared kind of interest within those modalities, but I want to hear more about your modalities and your story. And we were talking about EFT. How did you come to find EFT? What was it that drew you to it?
Yeah, so I think that I had heard of EFT years and years ago and had done some just general tapping. So EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, also more commonly known as tapping. And I had heard of it, but never really gave it too much thought until I had a call with a business coach. And this was when I was focusing on my massage business back in 2019, and I joined a business networking group, and it's a bunch of different businesses, healers, lawyers, realtors, just a whole mix of people. And one person who is a psychotherapist approached me because it's a way to, the business networking group is a way to just give and receive referrals, learn how to talk about your business, and it was a really great starting point for me. I highly recommend any kind of networking group to anyone who's trying to grow their business. So this psychotherapist approached me, and we talked about, giving, receiving referrals, helping to build each other's businesses. And she told me about EFT. And she was actually leading an in-person group program. This was in the fall of 2019, so before COVID, when we could be together in person.
Yeah.
And we did a trade. I gave her massage sessions to be part of the group. And I had posted on my website, I had a blog on my massage therapy website years ago about working with anxiety and my experience with it, and how I've learned to manage it. And she approached me and said, "Have you heard of EFT? Are you interested in learning more about it?" And I said, yes. So that was kind of the serendipitous moment that if I didn't join this business networking group, I don't think I would have become an EFT practitioner. So I did the group, and actually in the first session, I was tapping on something just very simple, and that's what she recommended in a group, to tap on something that doesn't feel too heavy.
Mm.
So I was tapping on seeing and feeling really annoyed with my partner's cat hair, like just being on the counter where we're preparing food in the kitchen, and it just really got under my skin. And after that first session, I remember walking out of that room feeling so much lighter than I had ever felt after a normal talk therapy session. And I can compare the feeling to Reiki. I'm sure, Laura, that you're familiar with Reiki. And I mean, I know you're an energy healer too.
Yeah.
So you can probably relate to this feeling of lightness in my body, in my spirit, the mental chatter just like really quieted down. And I was like, there's something to this. So I finished that series of classes. It was about 10 sessions. And close to a year later, we were in the pandemic. I wasn't sure what was going to happen since my hands on work with massage had come to a pause. And I had been tapping just on my own and thought about, could this be something that I could offer to people and virtually too? Because tapping, and I'm sure you know, like energy work can work through kind of any medium. You don't have to be in person to experience the benefits of it. So I went through my certification at the end of 2020 and got my certification in early 2021. And I've been tapping ever since. And it's been such a game changer for so many things. So much benefit to my mental health. And I think that there's so much power in speaking about your challenges out loud and not shying away from it. And with that comes a way to really, validate your experience and how you're feeling, not feeling shame about it. Or if you feel shame about that, tapping on those feelings of shame or anxiety and just noticing how you feel. And sometimes the shift can be as simple as like feeling more spaciousness and in your body, just feeling lighter. And then also those mindset shifts coming in too, and not identifying so much with these challenges that you're facing and realizing that you're more than that and coming to love and accept yourself. And that's something that I've experienced in clients that I've worked with as well. And it's been a very unique modality that I've come to do daily on my own and with people in one-to-one sessions and in groups too.
Yeah. I love tapping. I agree. I think tapping is so powerful. It's one of my favorite modalities as well. Just receiving it and following any kind of videos. Or I had another friend that also does tapping, and in the pandemic, I actually asked her to do a tapping session for my whole family, like right when everything shut down, because I thought like, we didn't know anything at that point and everyone was stressed. And I have a lot of people in my family that work in medical fields and we're out there. And so I thought if everyone can get on a Zoom, no matter where you are, we can all do some tapping to just feel a little bit better right now. So yeah, I love tapping so much. When you were talking about the first one where you did the cat hair as like your tapping kind of focus point, I know you said you left and you could feel like the difference, the lightness. Um, when you think of something like, oh, it's nothing big, it's nothing major, it's just this little kind of thing that's annoying me. But then you clear it. Did you notice like other things also cleared that you didn't even realize could have been related to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when I tap on anything, kind of everything improves. And it's, as simple or maybe not so simple as your self talk improving and becoming more aware of narratives or like limiting beliefs that we have. And I think that's something I just became more aware of that I didn't really have that grasp of before. And also just my relationships have really improved, even just tapping on that. Because I think, maybe I would redirect my emotions, my anger to my partner when it was really about the cat, and the cat doesn't, you can't control a cat, right? So, but I will say, after just a couple of sessions of doing that, of tapping on that frustration, that anger about seeing cat hair on the counter, it didn't bother me anymore. So what I've noticed and what I often tell people is that these triggers won't really go away, but our response to them can change. And so, seeing cat hair on the counter after that, I'm just like, whatever. It's all good. Like didn't phase me. I didn't have any kind of reaction.
Yeah. I know what you mean because yes, it's like I love that you said that about the response because sometimes then we do some healing and then the trigger that moment comes and you kind of have that feeling of like your old response and then feeling yourself move into neutrality or a different response and that feels healthier and you're like, "Oh wow, this is working."
Yes, it was really unique. Like I said, like I've never experienced anything like that before of such a shift and so quickly too.
Yes, I that's one thing I love about tapping, and my modality I like to use theta healing because they both are very quick to shift things. And like you said, the limiting beliefs, like it's just so fast. Like you just feel different after the session in so many ways. So yes, I agree with that. I wanted to ask you, when you and I first met, you were doing a lot of tapping for people, highly sensitive people. Is that something that was just really like close to you? Did you have experience with feeling like a highly sensitive person?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think so my partner who I've been with for almost 8 years, we're still together. I think he was the one that actually brought up highly sensitive, being a highly sensitive person. He sent me an article about on like highly sensitive people in love. And I didn't really give it much thought. I mean, I think that I'm sure like a lot of your listeners or people watching on YouTube can relate to feeling like they are very sensitive. Maybe we were called too sensitive, or teased about how sensitive we are. And so I think that was about 7 years ago or so that I realized that I am a highly sensitive person. Took all the quizzes and identified with, being sensitive to smells, to textures, to lights, to sounds. So many things, needing more time to rest and recharge after social events. I think a lot of highly sensitive people identify as being an introvert, so needing that time alone. And it's something that I feel passionate about because it's who I am. And with doing this research and with tapping, I've come to love and accept that part of myself instead of feeling ashamed of why I why am I this way? Why am I so sensitive? And so I started spreading that message on social media back in 2021 when I first started talking about tapping, and people just really resonate with that content. And it helps to really validate ourself, our experience, and help us feel less alone.
Absolutely. Yeah. You and I talked about this when we first connected last year. I also feel like, and I feel like most healers probably do feel like they are a highly sensitive person. And my family, I brought them to that phrase as well, and was telling them, have you ever heard of this? I think most of us have this, like in our family. Um, when you are doing the tapping for that for yourself or for a client, what are some things that you're looking at shifting or accepting?
Yeah, I think could be as simple as feeling like I'm too much, I'm too sensitive. But that's a really good question. I think that it goes deeper to feelings of feeling not enough, not feeling good enough, and I think that relates to kind of relates to burnout. I think that pretty much every person I've worked with has dealt with some kind of burnout. And I think that is related to what's expected of people. I mean, just living in the world that we live in, everything's moving so fast, and we're told to always be productive. And so if we don't meet that standard, we don't feel enough, but then we feel guilty for resting, so then we don't rest and then we burn out. It's a endless cycle that we can get stuck in unless we address those feelings of not feeling enough or feeling too much. So I would say those are the key themes that I've addressed on my own for sure, and then with clients too.
Yeah. And because we met through doing that healing summit together, then I saw a lot of your social media posts. They're so fun, and you make them, you're so creative with it. I know that's not really an avenue you're moving into right now. You've kind of taking a break from the social media stuff, but I just was curious when you were making those videos. They're just so fun and playful, and but you're also hitting like people really, like you said, resonate with it. Like you're really getting to something with how your demeanor is, what you're doing or saying, or the content that you're putting, and it is geared towards talking to people who feel that they are highly sensitive. When you were putting all those types of content together, how was that for you? What was like that creativity like to be so playful, but also out there being seen by so many people?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think you hit on it just there that we do have highly sensitive folks do have that fear of being seen. And that's definitely something that I've worked through and putting myself out there. And yeah, I mean, I guess I thought when I was using social media pretty regularly in building my practice and talking about EFT, I really focused on what resonates with me and speaking from my own experience and also doing some research, just researching about highly sensitive and the challenges that they face. And then also getting to talk to people because people would like just send me a message and say, like, it sounds like you're talking to me.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's interesting. I haven't posted on social media since last year. I've just needed to take a step back from it. So I haven't thought so much about it. But I really enjoyed creating those videos, and it was a way for me to be creative and express myself. And also, I think that's a key component of EFT, of tapping, is that self expression. And I think that a lot of highly sensitive folks can struggle with that because we're afraid to speak up, we're afraid to be seen, afraid to be heard. And yeah, social media just kind of I don't know if I would say it came naturally to me. It did take some work, but once I realized what was resonating with people, I kind of just kept going with it. And it was fun. It was enjoyable. And I've taken a step back just because I have a lot of other things on my plate right now. Um, but it was a way for me to express myself. And when those feelings came up and the comments came in that were not very nice, I would use tapping to tap on that feeling of hurt, feeling rejected, or if I think a big thing that came up and maybe had come up again and again throughout my time on social media is that if a post wasn't seen, that was hurtful and maybe still it's a core wound. And maybe that's why I think that could be part of why I've taken a step back from it. But also it takes so much time, the algorithms change. And, when I started posting in 2021, everyone was really on social media. Um, and it was easier to get seen versus over the past year, like in 2024, it was hard. I mean, there were also so many things going on in the world, the US election. Um, but yeah, it was definitely hit some core wounds that I've addressed with tapping that have helped. And it was, yeah, just a way for me to express myself and kind of build a community around EFT and around being highly sensitive.
Yeah. Yeah. I even your page is still there. Like I know you through Instagram, but your page is still there. So I do tell people like go check out the videos. They're really great. They're just so fun. They're so creative. They just hit. So yeah, I say still go, they're valuable. Go check them out. Um I do want to ask you kind of more personally for your own story with EFT or even before EFT, what what was your healing journey like? Did you have like some people go through like the dark night of the soul or ego death or those types of things. Did you ever experience any big moments like that in your own healing journey, whether it was before you did EFT or during EFT?
Yeah, great question. So I think I've always had roots in spirituality and religion. I was raised Roman Catholic, which I don't resonate with now anymore. But I actually do feel grateful for coming from that because I feel like that is a foundation, just growing up, that is a foundation of my spiritual life. Just having that practice of going to church, saying prayers. Even though I don't do it now, I am grateful for it, and my mom too, who really pushed it on me. But in I think in college, I experimented with meditation. I would say that was probably my first like step out of organized religion and into just something more free flowing. I joined like a spiritual meditation group. I forget what it was called. And that, yeah, I found peace and balance in that. And then fast forward to 2016. Still doing meditation on my own. I've been meditating for, gosh, consistently, I would say over the past 10 years or so. But in 2016, I went to Ecuador, and it was kind of just volunteering on a biodynamic farm, which is also very spiritual. And I don't know, can't speak to like all the specifics of it, but there are rituals in preparing compost with like a certain kind of tea to fertilize the crops, and stirring it so many times in a certain direction at a certain time of day. And that that was really interesting. And also, I think it was like the first day or two I got to this farm in Ecuador in the middle of nowhere, like hours and I think it was 12 hours from Quito. So it wasn't near any kind of city. And I got to the farm and I just felt this kind of, I don't even know how to describe it, just this like dark kind of feeling. So when you say dark night of the soul, I felt a darkness kind of come over me. It was really kind of interesting. I couldn't put my finger on it. And other volunteers would come to the farm. And the first night, too, I remember this other woman coming and she just started crying. The first night that she was there, I was like, okay, it's not just me. Other people are experiencing this too. And it just brought up a lot of darkness in my life. And I can't even really tell you about what it was exactly. It was just this energetic feeling of like, I guess the closest thing I could say is like grief, just being washed with it. And it was, yeah, it was really interesting and it was really heavy. And I was able to find connection with the other volunteers on the farm there to kind of talk about it, talk openly about it. And I did have moments of joy and connection with people in the community there. But that was definitely like a point of like darkness that I hadn't felt before that was very unique and very specific that other people were experiencing too. And also while I was there, I had a body worker do some work and adjustment on my neck that was very intense. And I remember returning to home in Massachusetts and hanging out with a couple of girlfriends, and they said, "You're holding your head differently now." And I was like, wow, that's interesting. And then, so many points to this story, I attended massage school after I got back from Ecuador. And that was another like integration period of the connection between the body, the spirit, the mind. And that was a whole other layer of my like building my spiritual life with myself and also in connection with others, with my classmates, but also with clients. So that's kind of the overview that I can really point to of my healing journey, how it started and how it kept going and evolving.
Yeah, wow, that's so interesting. Like, I wonder if it was the land or
Yeah.
everyone that, yeah, like I've been to places where a lot of healing, it was land where a lot of healing happened, like an indigenous ceremonial space that is not used anymore, but like just going there and feeling the healing in the way of releasing things. And it's, I couldn't tell if I'm releasing it for myself, for them, for the land, or just tapping into that energy of release. So that's so interesting. I wonder what that was, or just the aspect of the farming and what was happening there for the earth, you know?
Yeah, I love that you bring that up. And, that wasn't something that I heard about or that we talked about what's happened on that land in the past. I don't actually know, but I do think you're right that it had something to do with the type of farming that they were doing. And I will also say, had this experience, it was late at night or at least after dark, and I was in kind of like a makeshift tent. And so this area of Ecuador that I was in, very remote. At that time, I don't know exactly what it's like now, but at that time there was no planes that flew overhead because there was nowhere to go nearby, I guess. Um, and there was a moment where this beam of light came down from the sky and then immediately disappeared. So I think that was UFO.
Oh my gosh, I'm sure it was. Was it like near you, or just you just saw it from far away?
I was relatively far away. I think I was on the bed and my friend was closer to the edge of the tent. So I didn't see it. I didn't have a clear shot of it, but I did see some light and I did hear some noise, and then it just I think that it was a UFO because it disappeared right away. It didn't hang around. Like planes, they take a while. You hear the engine coming and going from miles away, but this was super quick.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
What a trip, right? You went down there, had all these different experiences. That's so
hmm
cool. I want to ask more about the farming, but I don't even know enough about it. Can you just tell me more about that? Because I know that's also something that you're is something you love and have a lot of connection to. So can you just tell us more about that?
Yeah. Let's see. From what I remember, it's so when I was there was the rainy season, right? So in other parts of the world, there's just the rainy and the dry season. And so there was a lot of rain while I was there. So I don't think that we only did practices that could work during that time of year. Um, so we did this thing with the manure tea, and that was fertilizer for the crops. And I remember myself and another volunteer and like the farm owner went into the woods and had gathered, like previously had gathered manure in this kind of large barrel, and uh we were stirring it in a particular direction for at least 45 minutes to an hour, and we took turns stirring it. And I'm trying to remember if Walter was saying any prayers. He might have been saying some prayers while we were stirring it, but I think the idea was that with that was the intention around preparing this fertilizer to fertilize the crops. Um, and I don't know, like, I can't remember if there's a significance to the amount of times stirred or the length of time that it was stirred. I'm sure there is. And while I was there, I did read books about biodynamic farming. Don't remember too much of it now because I didn't keep up with it, didn't volunteer in any other biodynamic farms after that, after my time in Ecuador. But after we had stirred that, I think it was maybe the next day or shortly after, we spread the manure, had these, I think we just had it like in a bucket and kind of just, what I can think about is like at church, the priest would sometimes
Yes.
come around with holy water. Okay, you know. So it was kind of like that, and just spraying the fields with this fertilizer that we made. And I think also that we were saying some prayers while we were doing that. So very spiritual practice. One other thing that I remember that Walter was teaching us about was this idea of the involvement of gnomes and fairies and how they are present on the land and there are ways to honor them. And I was actually listening to your episode with Faith talking about offerings
Fairies.
to fairies. Yeah. So that was part of it too. And I think there was maybe a time that I was out in the woods and we were just like talking to the gnomes and the fairies. That was pretty sweet. And then one other thing that I can remember, and I don't think we did this because I don't think it was the time of year for it, but there's actually we might have done it. Taking a cow's, or I guess maybe like a ram's horn, and like from a previously deceased ram, the boy cow, and filling it with particular types of herbs. I think chamomile was one. Different herbs that are relevant to the season. Um, that can be grown in that region, and filling it with herbs and then burying it. And that is another way to fertilize the land. I don't think we did that during that time, but that's another way, or another ritual of biodynamic farming.
Wow, that sounds so interesting and so fun. Like even all this time later, and like you said, you didn't go do it again, but you still remember all of these very magical, ceremonial, yeah, absolutely spiritual ways to bring the food or whatever we're growing that's going to align with the energy of when you put it on or take it into your body. So yeah, I think all of that's so valuable. When you were saying about the Catholic ritual, in case somebody doesn't know what that is, it's like they take this water that sort of looks like it has a little bit of steam coming off of it, but it's not hot. I'm sure it's like some kind of smoke. I forget in my
Oh, yes. Well,
is it
also incense. Yeah.
yeah, it might be. I was gonna say my father will not be happy that I can't remember this because he was like an altar boy, nuns raised him. I went to Catholic school. I better know all this. But they kind of take this, beautiful chalice of this and they walk around the church to the different people and they dip in this, again, I don't know what it's called, but they kind of throw this water, like holy water, and it just kind of
Mhm.
sprinkles on everyone throughout, so everyone can be blessed by this, energy
Right.
of this water. So yes, when you were talking about it, I was like exactly picturing that. So I knew what you were saying. Yeah, that's so I love all of that. Yes, thank you. Perfect. Thank you for sharing that because I don't
Yeah.
know enough about that. And I just think that makes me want to learn more about it and look into it even more. So I know the listeners also will either know about it and be inspired or want to learn more about it. So that's really beautiful. When you were moving through these different aspects of your healing journey, did you have any like books that were supportive for you or messengers that of people that kind of came into your life and felt like you said with that person that brought you to EFT, like that person was there to help guide you into something that was really important for you. Was there anything else like that that you experienced along the way?
Yeah, I would say the first that I can remember, like the first spiritual book that really struck a chord within me was is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Um and yeah, I've read that book countless times. It's always a good one to come back to. There's always like something new to learn or remember, be reminded of. So that was like a catalyst in my spiritual growth as well. Um, and I just had another one. Oh, Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. I can't remember if it was The Power of Now or The New Earth. One of his books I read actually when I was in Ecuador, and that was like, yeah, really transformative too for me. And I've also, read books, articles, teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh, that he's like definitely a
Yes.
spiritual teacher of mine.
Yes.
Um, Yeah, I feel like I've read so many other books, but those are the ones that resonated the most with me that I can remember.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. The Four Agreements, same. I've read it so many times. I recommend it to so many people. I remember when I first read it, Friends was still on the air and Phoebe on Friends was reading it in an episode. And I was so excited. I was like, that's that book. Yeah, I feel like it just can bring you through any challenge or just help you elevate, who you are in the Four Agreements of what they are and what they're kind of these guidances. They just help so much, and they're for me they're such great um kind of reminders as I'm moving through something to remember, what, like, my I'm probably going to forget how he words it, but it's something like, don't take things personally, nothing's
Yes.
about you. And that is like huge for me, and I read it 25 years ago, and I still, of course it's not perfect, but I use that so much when something's going on. I'm so much about like, okay, that's not for me. Even if someone's talking about me, I'm just like, okay, it's not about me, it's about them. And it helps me so much to like separate between what that person's going through and have a different viewpoint of it than to take it in and get into the drama of it and the weight of it and then stir something up in me, so there's
Absolutely.
every agreement. And I kind of have this joke with myself that I can never remember all four agreements at one time. I'll be like, where are they again? This one. And I'll get to three and I'll just be struggling to find the fourth one. And I just have to let it
Yep.
go. And then I'll reread it. But that book got me through so much in my 20s
Mhm.
of just life's ups and downs. So I think that's a great one. And I love that you said The New Earth because I don't remember if I read that. And I recently been reading a lot of books about future Earth, new Earth, types of things. That's a great one. I want to add that to my list right now.
Mhm.
And when you were talking about the fairies and helping with the farming, I recently was reading a book that was talking about pixies help with soil, and I think it was like gnomes help with trees, and they have like their own little specialties. And certain dragons do this, and it was all about like future Earth and how to like start calling those things in more. And so that's even kind of a serendipitous moment for me because I just was reading about that, and then for you to kind of be bringing that in, I'm like, "Oh, I love that." It really supports kind of what I'm moving through too.
Yes.
Did you have any other kind of, we say synchronistic, but we know there are these communications from source or the universe. Did you have any other synchronistic moments that you felt like were validating you that you're on the right path, you're moving through something, everything's going to be okay?
Um, yeah, well, one thing I'll share that's like pretty personal is about 3 years ago, I lost my brother very unexpectedly to overdose, and tapping saved me through that time. So at that point, I've been tapping a few years on my own. And when we got the news, I stepped outside and was having, I'm pretty sure what was a panic attack. I couldn't breathe. So I just started tapping on one point and repeating, I'm safe in my body. And within just a couple minutes, maybe if that, I was felt more regulated. I could breathe easier. I felt okay. Um, and yeah, I'm just so grateful for tapping getting me through a really probably the hardest time in my life that I've experienced thus far. And it really did serve me, when that happened and up until now. I mean, the grief is has definitely lessened. I would say the first year, and anyone that's lost a loved one can probably, resonate with this, that the first year is the hardest. I was a mess for that first year. Like, felt really unregulated a lot of the time, and I still had the tool of tapping to at least feel okay enough to keep going and to keep showing up in my work and, in my relationships, even though I wasn't perfect, far, far from it, but it still gave me enough peace to exist and to keep going.
Yes, like an anchor, like a lifeline just to,
Exactly.
like you said, feel back in your body. I think that's a really beautiful thing to share with our listeners because, like you said, all of us go through that, and um, moving through something with someone like an overdose that has its own other layer of grief and loss attached to it, and challenge. And I think you being able to go and use tapping so soon into that experience and that it started to help you right away, I think that's a great reminder for everyone because sometimes we're in that place and we can't even use our tools because we're just like in shock and frozen and we can't even get there, So even that tiniest, just that one sentence, that one tapping point, just as simple as it could be to just anchor you back in your body, just to start to find your way again.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think, that day that it happened, I had woken up with this heaviness on my chest and I just started immediately crying. And I knew something was going to happen. And again, like before it even happened, I had written down in my journal, I'm safe in my body. And I knew at that time I need to remember this. Did tapping, that phrase came up. So that was, yeah, I mean, in a way, I think that is like a synchronicity, like having that energetic connection with my brother that I still feel today. Um, and right, having that tool to help me come back in my body was huge.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You were already feeling, what if it was your higher self, your angels, whoever was saying this is going to be something you're going to need. Let's start to bring it into your space, into your awareness, so that you can easily access it later.
Mhm.
Um, do you with tapping? Because I'm only familiar with it on like the experiential level, um, and with grief especially. What do you notice it it does for you in terms of your grief, or even with your clients that are going through grief? How do you notice that the tapping helps them process that, or gives them like some peace within it? What do you notice?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, what I tell everyone who wants to start tapping is to start by, taking a few breaths and getting curious about how you feel in your body. And that's how I start tapping on grief or anything that's really heavy. We don't talk about the experience right away. And especially if something's really fresh and triggering, we can bring, like I said, I brought in that affirmation right away, but that's because I was in like the most stressful moment of my life. um, but when I work with clients and on my own, when I do sessions, we're focusing first on how we feel in the body, right? So grief can feel like a heaviness on the chest, so that's something that you can say while tapping. I feel this heaviness on my chest. It feels hard to take a breath in. I feel this constriction in my throat. So that's like, I always tell people that's the first place to start tapping. Unless you can't even say any words, you can tap and just focus on your breath. But really focusing on how you feel in your body and tapping through the points will create, like, naturally just create that spaciousness. And also, I did, so right now I'm hosting monthly sessions on Insight Timer, which is a free meditation app. And I'll share that with you to put it in the show notes for anyone to join if they'd like.
Yeah.
Um, what have said and what I like have to actually remind myself of is that we're tapping on these things that are uncomfortable, not to just get to the other side and work through it and just feel good again. I mean, of course, we want to feel good, we want to feel calm and ease, but we're tapping to give ourselves the space and permission to just sit with that discomfort,
Yeah.
even if it's just for one round, for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, however much your system has the capacity for. It's really about sitting with what's uncomfortable and then bringing in some more specific phrases about the emotions underneath those just like physical sensations that are uncomfortable. And hopefully, with enough tapping with support, you can feel a little bit calmer. And like I said, feel in the beginning lighter in body and spirit. Um, so that is the goal of tapping, but the purpose is to sit with what's uncomfortable and not bypass it, not add in those affirmations right away, unless you're in like a dire situation.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Like I said, my experience with it is just in being like a client of it. So knowing a little bit more about what you're coming from your education and your certifications, the goals of tapping, it's it is so helpful, but also like you said, we're providing this space for us to feel our feelings, which is hard for most of us. We don't always want to sit with that discomfort. So I like that you said, it can be 2 minutes or 5 minutes, because I feel like that kind of gives us a sense of control to be like, it's only for 2 minutes.
Absolutely.
Even though we know, like, sometimes that's good and that's enough. Like, I have this joke that if I'm going to cry, I'll cry, so like I had this joke a couple years ago that I was making fajitas and I just started crying, and something was coming through and I just had to let it out while I was cooking my vegetables. And it lasted for a minute and then I was good. I just let it through, whatever that was. And so sometimes that is okay. But then other times it is like those 2 minutes open up into something else, and it needed to happen. So I think that's really great how you explained that. I really like that. I think it's so helpful for me, and I'm sure other people listening. That app that you're talking about, tell me more about like what your offerings are. Like, what are some things that you have for everybody?
Yeah, so Insight Timer is a free meditation app. And also, I think you can access it from the computer. At least I can, but I don't know if that's because I'm a teacher on there. But it's actually something I've been using for at least a decade. It's been around for a while and it has progressed and advanced. But on that app, you can search for anything and everything. There are so many wonderful teachers there, teachers that I've connected with and have done sessions with doing breath work. There's a lot of like somatic practitioners, so getting in touch with the body, kind of like tapping, but through different exercises. And just very, could be also yoga, um, other types of breath work. There's a lot of variety on that app. I can't say enough about it. So on that app, I have tapping exercises that are guided for just audio. I do have a tapping PDF. So there's some images. If folks that are brand new to tapping, that's a good place to start to get those images. And I have a few videos on YouTube as well. I think that can be helpful to understanding where the tapping points are. Um, and I have tapping audio exercises on Insight Timer that range from, managing anxiety at work to addressing your triggers. I just added one, hopefully it'll be up soon, on feeling dissociated and shut down and working through those feelings with tapping. And another great thing about Insight Timer is they have live sessions. So I go live there, kind of just like I was doing on social media. And at Faith Summit, that was a live session that we all participated in and offered. But these live sessions are on Insight Timer. They're not recorded, so you have to attend live to participate.
Mhm.
But I post those, a week in advance, more or less, of when I'm going to go live, and I do that, aiming to do that a couple times a month. Sometimes it's just once a month, but usually Sundays at 12 p.m. Eastern time.
Wow. That sounds so amazing. I've never heard of that app. That's a really great resource. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
So we always kind of end the podcast with a quick fire. Well, we have been in this second season, but before I do that, is there anything I didn't ask you that you would love to share with us?
I don't think so. I think we
A
covered a
lot.
lot. I appreciate that we talked about, yeah, my range of experience and the biodynamic farming. I'm glad you're interested in that. And yeah, I'm kind of surprised that I remembered as much as I did. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting. It made me think of something. I feel like maybe I've even said this before on the podcast, or I don't know, somebody recently because it's in my mind. But my sister, she had at one point, well, and now at her new place, she does too, a really large farming area that her and her husband had, and they had chickens and all this stuff. And was learning and she's an energy healer, so she was learning so much about food and energy healing. And one of the things that I love that she said is if you're planting something you're going to eat, that, if it's for you, you put the seed in your mouth and then plant it, because then as it grows with what your body is needing.
I
And
love
so
that.
I always think of that because I think like, oh yeah, I like I want to do that when like different things if I grow vegetables or. For myself. So I thought that was such a interesting idea. And so everything you're saying, and then that they use the ritual and ceremony of it, I love it. Yeah. So I'm totally going to be looking into that.
Awesome.
um, so, okay. So these are quick fire, but like we end up always like kind of chatting a bit about them because people's answers are always interesting. What healing modality do you love the most that you've ever done besides the ones that you do?
Oh, um, that's tough. I mean, I love EFT, but another one that I do that I'm not certified in that I do daily is breath work. 478 breath work, 444. Yeah, Kirsty Lyon, just a plug for Kirsty Lyon on Insight Timer. She has incredible breath work exercises there. So she
Love
really
that.
turned me on to breath work when I found her a few years ago.
Yeah, breath work has saved me so many times, like in a crunch, like just dropping into my favorite is that, and I always forget the word, physiological sighing.
Yeah. Yep.
That is like the key to everything for me. Like any anxiety, panic attacks, or like anything that used to happen to me, I would just drop into that immediately and it would just save me so much. So yeah, breath work is great. Yeah, great answer. If you like yoga, what's your favorite type of yoga?
I'm pretty freeform with my yoga. I don't have a very structured practice. Um, I recently started running again. So I think after running, moving really fast, doing a few yoga poses helps me to feel a little bit more grounded and centered. Um, Doing downward dog, I think that one and also thread the needle is like my go to yoga pose.
Love thread the needle. That one just feels so good whenever I do that. I'm like, if I'm in a class and they're doing it, I'm like, yes, I love this pose.
Oh, yeah.
I actually 2 days ago was like, I need to do that. It just feels so good.
It does. Yep. Yeah,
That's
especially
great.
for all of us if you're at a desk or like myself, I also do massage therapy, so I'm just like this a lot. A lot of people are just like this, so it really helps to open
Ugh,
us up here in the front and in the back. So
that's great. Now I'm gonna go do that because that was already in my head 2 days ago and I totally forgot about it. So I'm doing it. Yes. What's the most special place that you've traveled to?
ooh. Um I would say actually it's in California and you're in California,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Lara? Yeah. Petrolia. Have you heard of Petrolia?
No.
So in 2013, 2012, 2013, I was doing an AmeriCorps term, doing salmon habitat restoration work. And we did like dives for coho. Well, I think it was rainbow trout at that time. It was salmon and trout restoration work. And Petrolia is in Humboldt County, so it's
Okay.
very far north.
Yeah.
'Cause you're in, like, Southern California, correct?
Yeah, a lot of my family lives in Northern California, but
Okay.
my ex's daughter, she went to when we were together, she was in school in Humboldt, so we went up there a lot. And so when you were saying that, I was like, I wonder if it's somewhere up there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's only, like, one way in, one way out, and it it just felt so special to me when I visited there because there are beautiful rolling hills, which reminds me of New England, where I live now, but then the ocean is just there, and yeah, it's just so beautiful. Highly
Oh,
recommend.
yeah. I'm gonna have to look it up because yeah, sometimes I hear about these places in California. I'm like, how did I never hear of this? But I once you started talking about it, I thought this must be up there. Yeah.
Mhm.
What is your favorite constellation if you have one?
Ooh, this is a reminder for me to look up at the stars more because I,
Mm.
I do not do that enough. I mean, yeah, I mean, I can't really think of any besides like the Big Dipper, the Little Dipper. Yeah, that's pretty basic. So
Yeah.
that's
That's
shows how much
okay.
I know
Everyone
about the stars.
yeah, sometimes yeah, my cat is saying hello to us.
Oh.
Some yeah, sometimes people say things like that, and then other times it's like more specific. Um, do you when you hear of this like Atlantis or Lemuria, which one feels more like you would like it, the energy of it?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know too much about it. Both are based in the water, right?
Yeah,
Ocean or no?
yeah. Well, Atlantis is, but Lemuria also, yes, because it's kind of like Hawaii area, but also land. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I want to say Atlantis because I feel like that's what I know more about, even though I
Yeah.
know very little.
Yeah. I just ask like go, what draws you?
Mm.
What is the most unique place you've ever been to or hosted a healing event or ceremony? Maybe it was the one we talked about earlier.
Yeah. Um, a couple years ago, a couple summers ago, I was doing an herbal I guess yeah, an apprenticeship. It was really sweet, and I offered some tapping on the land there on the farm, and that's something that I really enjoyed. And this is a reminder for me that I'd like to do more events outside. Most of what I've done has actually been in front of the computer or in a yoga studio, but I think that was really special, like being around herbs and yeah, outside and with some folks. So,
Yeah, the energy kind of all working together. I bet that's really lovely.
mhm.
Yeah. Do you have a nickname? If so, do you feel comfortable sharing it with us?
That's funny. This is a funny question. So, growing up, my dad would say Katie Rose knows, and up until like a few years ago, I thought that he was talking about my nose.
Uh-huh.
But he's saying Katie Rose knows like I know everything.
That's how I took it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
I don't I don't know why I thought it was my nose because I thought he was teasing me, that like dads and men
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
So that was like my first Instagram handle, Katie Rose Knows, all one word.
Cute. I
Yeah.
love that. It's funny how we can go through so much time thinking something is one way and then finding out like that's not even how he meant it all these years.
Yeah.
Favorite type of food or like a dish or a category of food?
Mm. I'm gonna say tacos because that's what I've been craving. Um, Yeah, so where I live, just a short plug for where I live for anyone to come visit. I live in Western Massachusetts, and I work at a nonprofit that focuses on helping local farms, local food businesses. And where I live, we have like some of the best agricultural soil in the country. So I am so blessed to have such great access to fresh vegetables throughout the year, but it's the best in the summer and the fall. So,
Uh, mm, bring more of that to the rest of us. We need our soil, we need so much help. Whenever I drive like the 5 freeway, which is like a main freeway in California, goes all the way up. The whole way I'm like blessing the land, blessing the cows, blessing just
Yeah,
anything I see because there's tons of um orange trees or almond trees or you're just passing so much and I'm just like I'll have to sometimes like tell myself like you don't have to do this the whole way. Like you can take a break and then you could like do all of it later when you get home. But it reminds me I want to do that because I just feel like it needs help. So
totally. Yeah.
totally
I love
depleted.
that. Praying to the land. That's like, yeah, something I don't do enough of. So that's a good reminder.
Yeah, it started because there's a lot of cows and I am vegan. So like it started with me like seeing all of those cows was hard for me. And so it
Mm,
started with me doing healings as I'm passing through and just focusing on them, giving them healing, giving them love, giving the people that live there or work there some healing. And that's how it started. And then I started being like, oh, well, also the plants and the land. And so just like periodically as I'm driving, if it's a 6-hour drive, once an hour kind of doing this little burst of healing for an area. So yeah, and I do feel like really good afterwards because then I'm in that energy too. So it kind of helps as I'm driving, a long drive.
nice.
If you had a choice, what would you reincarnate as? And it does not have to be on Earth; it could be anything.
First thing that comes to mind is a bird. I just love birds so much. My partner and I, we like every time we go for a walk, we have the binoculars out. We're like IDing all the birds. We get so excited about anything. And yeah, I think like a core value of mine is feeling free and freedom. And that's, I think, yeah, being able to just fly and go anywhere. That's what birds can do.
Yeah. I in that going back to what we were talking about earlier with the books I'm reading right now about future Earth and bringing the next generation into Earth and what we're going to look like as a consciousness and humanity. Um, One of the things that was talking about is that birds, like all of us are here to learn something, whether we're an animal, plant, human, but birds aren't only here to teach.
Mhm.
So I love when I heard that, I loved it. So it's great that you're saying that because I feel like if you're really in your healing journey and you're learning so much, like that it makes sense that you would come back as one of the teachers, right? To like hold that
That's
space.
sweet.
I know, I loved it.
Nice.
It's a
Yeah.
great book. Oh, I can't remember the name of it right now, but I'll have to send it to you because yeah, it's just goes through like categories of what the future would look like. And I love it because it just everyone ends with like a little visualization. So whether it's talking about food, whether it's talking about people, children, money, whatever it's talking about what the future would hold for those things, it ends with a visualization to hold this space of just a really harmonious energy. So yeah, one of the sections was about animals and plants. So yeah.
Love that.
Two more questions. What is your favorite word?
Hmm. Um, I think trust is my
Like,
favorite word. What's coming through is like trusting in divine timing. That's like something that I often say while tapping. um, yeah, so maybe not one word, but one phrase.
yeah, I love that. That's a great one. Yes. Last one. Do you know your moon sign?
Yes, I'm a Virgo moon.
Oh, I'm a Virgo. There's
Oh,
so
no way.
yeah, I'm a Virgo. I have my moon is a Gemini moon, but I think there's a ton of astrology stuff happening. I mean, I know we're moving into Virgo season, but there's something about even if you have a Virgo placement like a moon, I think it's like in the next it's like the 22nd or something like that. For the like a month after that, there's just a bunch of stuff happening for anyone that has Virgo placements. Um, there's so much I can't even like remember it because I was like, I got to look at this later because there's a lot happening. I better be ready.
I think I saw in my email getting emails from astrologers that eclipse season
Yes,
maybe is on the Virgo
two of them at least. I
Pisces
think.
axis.
Yes, yes, and that was
So
reminding me because I think one of my sisters is a Pisces. And I was wanting to confirm that because I was like, oh wow, then we're both going to be going through some stuff.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I was like, I need to confirm if that, I can't remember quite if she is on that cusp or not. Yeah, so that's interesting. So we always end the podcast asking the void a question. The void will kind of like impart the wisdom, and then we'll end our episode for today. So my question to the void is, what is your favorite sound from Earth in terms of nature? What do you love? Do you love a tree growing, fire, the wind? What is your favorite sound from Earth's realm?
The wind.
Okay, thank you so much, The Void, for always giving us your wisdom. I love it. Kate, thank you so much for this time. I've enjoyed our conversation so much, and I feel like we really wove through lots of different topics. And I just appreciate you, being really open and honest about your own experiences. I just think it's going to help so many people.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Laura. It's been, yeah, so lovely connecting, and I'm so grateful that you reached out.
Yeah, thank you. And we will have all of Kate's information and links to her offerings in the bios below on all the platforms. So please go check out any of her offerings, whether it's through the app or her videos, because they are very helpful. And I know a lot of you are resonating with what she's saying. So please go connect with her, get a one-on-one session. Yeah, I like cannot say enough about tapping. It's up there for me with one of my favorite things too. So thank you again, Kate.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, healer, for being with us. And I wish you so much joy and serendipity on your healing journey. And I know our paths will cross again.